Hey kiddo, wanna see some Deltarune? But first, people want timers, people want layouts, people want splits, people want Sans Undertale from the Undertale game with Sans in it. Can't have a Deltarune run without first beating Sans. Look at him, Sansing out over there. And yes, that is cut out at the bottom. I messed up the sizing on recording. How could you possibly have any good Deltarune playthrough without Sans? That would be completely contradictory. And good, we are just about in time ending the Sans fight with exactly 0 on our device of constant repetition, so we can start the speedrun without any time loss. Did I say speedrun? This is of course my first run of Deltarune, as you can see from my non-existing save files. And as we are speedrunning this, do we need to go as fast as possible? No more English for that one. We need to skip those text boxes as quickly as we can. You heard the man.
I can't read, I'm an Undertale fan!
So we can also not read. Well, technically I can read a little bit, as I know a tiny bit of Japanese. Surely it will not be an issue for some sort of puzzle where NPCs tell you the solution that you have to piece together in the form of a riddle. And as it would look like, do you already lose a little bit of time for me not knowing how to write my goddamn name? And the name of course being Kyaku. I for certain do not have to spell out what that means. Do I? We all already know what Kyaku means, right? For the speedrun, you will already see it. Have I sped up the footage a little bit, and I will also do cuts. As this is still my first run, and my first run is not the speed of a speedrun usually. I'm trying to get this down to a reasonable amount of time, so I will have to cut some certain parts out. Not your usual strategy for speedrunning recording. Though then again, what am I supposed to say when I'm just skipping through text or running down a straight hallway to the next screen? At least I can tell you some funky things from me knowing Japanese, like the Laibapri being Tushonka, which is the same joke as it is in English, with swapping out some letters by writing it not in kanji, as the normal word for library would be Toshokan. Mentioned does it also mean because this is in Japanese. We will see all the funky tiny differences from Japanese to English. But well, first of all, let's do this one and see how much my meshing helps me when I'm constantly choosing the wrong option as it is the first select one. For all other text boxes that have options to choose from, as far as I could see, did it always auto-select in the middle, so that you exactly can't just mesh through and constantly choose the option you didn't want to. But for this one, do we auto-select the one of no? That is then also all of the light world for now, as all till now is just text boxes to skip over. Let's see here in the dark world what we have there. First of all, do we see the new gimmick of that the heart is out and can be heard, unlike for Undyne in Undertale, where it effectively works the same way, but you're ripped out into a battle scene. And then my miserable way at doing these type of puzzles. Honestly, does anyone ever know how to do them correctly on the first try, despite them usually being really easy and just being a case of click 2 buttons and it's probably already correct? At least for the following thing, am I decently moving by holding straight down in one direction and avoiding most things? That has at least some semblance of a real speedrun when you're just holding down as fast as you can. In the following slide, you basically cannot lose time. I hope you can't. Well, I didn't get hit, so how could I possibly lose time then? Unluckily, will something bad happen right after that is completely external, and with now all sound is gone. For some reason the sound completely cut out. In fact, Deltarune is very annoying with the size of its windows and what it does with them. Naturally it has this weird resolution, but then again for Deltarune does it love to just randomly skip around with a window, and that means that sometimes you lose the sound. Luckily I did stop after the first chapter and check what I recorded, so for the following 3 chapters we will have sound, but for the rest of chapter 1, sadly no more sound, and I have to simply fill it up with whatever music I can find that fits. The Lancer fight was now not much to say for. I missed a huge bullet with Rollsay over here trying to give some lore dump that I just auto-select the no option for. It is not like I could read Japanese good enough, especially if I'm skipping around this crazily. But well, good that we chose the correct option for a speedrun. Following, a bit talking about the fighting. The fighting in Deltarune is mostly the same as it is in Undertale. I for one thought and was a bit discouraged that it is too much like an RPG. But well, as it would seem, is it not really all that different from normal Undertale. The attacking is more involved, but outside of that is it the exact same thing. So all it is more than Undertale. And all my worries from seeing other people play it was not warranted. Yes, you heard that right. I already saw other people play this. In fact, my entire story with Deltarune is that when Chapter 1 came out, I saw it and I saw people play it. And for example, something like Lancer I saw and I simply compared to Sans but more cringe. That is a big issue when you create a game that is this similar to its predecessor. If Deltarune is truly the same as Undertale, we will still have to see. But as of now, does it just seem like a side grade. And well, I still compared it completely to Undertale. And there did I like how it was completely different from normal RPGs, basically doing its completely own thing. And that was then a real issue, when Deltarune suddenly was a real RPG. So what am I saying, rambling around this long? My issue with Deltarune was that I didn't think I would like a game like this, and then simply lost interest. Once Chapter 2 came out, I never even heard about Chapter 2 coming out. That is how little interest I had in Deltarune after seeing Chapter 1. Oh, and these guys, they really are the bane of my existence. It feels like you should be able to outrun them. I had to replay all of Deltarune more than once for the entirety of this, and those guys always caught me when I thought I could avoid them. After that, this puzzle is so self-explanatory, you can easily understand it on your first try without even thinking about it. And more of these guys, just look how close I am to the exit and they still catch up to me. Another thing we maybe want to talk about is how for all of Chapter 1 I will never use any of the mostly anything of Deltarune. I am speedrunning through this. I therefore don't know what the menu button is, and I never figured it out just randomly. I mean, I never even tried to figure it out. So I will never equip anything during all of this run. I also don't have any use for TP, as I am simply attacking. That surely is the best option always. Well, this guy over here is a boss. I know that much from Undertale, that you can't just attack bosses and expect it to be the fastest way. Usually doing some random other thing is faster than just attacking. On top, do you not level up in Deltarune, so there's no way there. I maybe not be able to read much what is written down in Japanese, but I can see that there's a roleplay picture in the act menu, so I should be doing that, and afterwards does it give me a percentage, so I have a clear indication that I'm doing the right thing. And good that I'm doing that instead of attacking, because this boss is invincible and just heals himself to full all the way. I do wonder if you cheat and give your infinite attack power, could you kill him or not? That is a big question, as you would never be able to do much damage anyways. One other thing we will be seeing is that attacks in Deltarune are far more involved. And that also means I am far more getting hit by them. Even the easy ones I am just getting hit way too much. The only bit of Undertale I played before this was the Sans fight, and to that fight I didn't struggle all that much to doing it, even if the example you saw at the beginning was really bad. But well, somehow those skills didn't travel over to Deltarune at all. Maybe the movement is slightly different and that is what screws me off, but I'm sucking mostly throughout all of the 4 chapters, except for some side stuff I did afterwards. Here's now the first show where it is really different from normal walking through it, as I don't know any of the ways where I'm supposed to go. Do I just have to guess what is the correct way? And I'm getting some random item I will never use. On top is there this puzzle, but luckily this also is very self-explanatory and very easy, as it is supposed to explain what comes after. Then is there again another puzzle, but for this one can I already see that I can go further, so I would naturally go further to see what is there. And as it would be, can you simply go through? And what comes there? Well, this puzzle, did you remember when I say reading NPC text would never be an issue, as why would we ever need to know what NPCs say in a speedrun? Well, in a speedrun you would already know what the solution to this puzzle is. I do not know what the solution is, so I have to simply guess it by struggling my way to decipher what the few words are I can get out of what is there and what these NPCs say, and then guess it. Just to give the absolute extent of what I'm getting out of these text boxes, I can read that there is something about colors, so I'm assuming that the colors at the top are the one this is in. I can also read that there is heart, the symbol of love, so I assume that heart is one of the symbols here. I'm really lucky that it is just the easiest answer possible, and first heart and then the symbols that are there in order. This could have gone real bad real fast if it wasn't this. Following with another fight where acting is better than attacking, and for this one, well, I can technically read what it is talking about, as the act options are talking about sport, talking about boys, talking about trees, and talking about animals, and then another option I don't know what it actually means. But I can get as much as to simply try out all options, which just happens to be for this fight exactly what you're supposed to do to win the fight. So just another lucky coincidence that I'm getting through this faster than I usually would. And who knows how long this fight would take if you don't have Susie's attack power to do it. Talking about Susie, here's some more Japanese stuff that you don't need to read. But hey, I can give you that much. That this is just saying, right now this is a company I have made up. Well, that much I can get out of this with my bare bones knowledge of Japanese. Following is a selection of this one. I have already seen some amount of Deltarune, so I know that for some reason the duck head is the best option. I don't know why it is the best option, I simply know. And oh my god, was that just? No. That was not the original Star Walker. This is pissing me off. Oh, and the puzzle afterwards. I saw that some really struggle with this one, but all you have to do is go inside, and if you follow the circle, you will really quickly see that something is happening with the brightness of the screen. So I followed it until I saw the screen at the top, and I could interact with that one, so it wasn't all that hard. Okay, back to normal gameplay, which isn't all that normal at all, considering how I simply press the attack button always. For certain is it faster when you know what you need to act of, but I don't know it and I cannot read it, so I thought that simply attacking is always the faster option. Well, eventually did I consider the option of just doing the act and see what happens. This one is one that can be really tricky if you don't know what is happening, but luckily can I at least figure it out through sheer stupid luck. And getting through this fight, seeing that Susie is doing something, do I know that I have to act on Susie afterwards. So the fight isn't all that more difficult from not being able to read. If you also want to know, no, the names aren't any funky difference in Japanese. They are just the Japanese way of writing. Chris, Ralsei, Susie and Lancer. That means more skipping over some stuff where I'm just walking around and getting to this part, yet again going easily through without getting hit at all. Well, except for when we get to the next part where I get hit way too much. Good that it isn't doing anything to the speed of going through that part. Following this one, where I don't know where I have to interact to get out of this. So I'm even getting the hidden moss scene, despite this being a speedrun and moss not doing anything other than a fancy title, I think. What comes after is a puzzle where I struggled more with than I should with, as I can easily read the options that I need to read to know what I need to do, in question being Spado New Ryoko and Dia New Ryoko, which obviously is spade input and diamond input, and the top option of course can only be changing it. That, kids, is what's happening when you think you cannot read. It wouldn't matter if this stands in English or any other language. I simply assumed that I couldn't read it, so I didn't even bother reading it, even if the answer is very easy in the end. Well then, after that is a bit more... not this puzzle. For some reason that is just done automatically, and we're going over into the next Lancer fight. For this fight, I do wonder what is the optimal strategy. For Toriel and Undertale, you couldn't die ever, no matter what you would do. But in this fight, it seems as if he just naturally stops attacking you at some point, so I wonder if you can die before that or not. But well, I would of course dodge it, as I have not the idea if you can die, and it is timer based when the fight runs out. I'm not even certain how much you can speed up the text boxes of what they are saying, so I don't know if there is even any way to speed this up a lot. You can speed it up by at least ending the text boxes, but these in-comment text boxes I'm pretty sure don't work like overworld text boxes where you can instantly get to the end of them and then go to the next one. Ultimately, is it just something like an interactive cutscene? And interactive in the sense that you just can move around without much influencing what is happening in the cutscene. And that also means we are now finally reaching the end of this cutscene. I will not be showing much of the castle. The castle we can look at later, for Jevil when I have to do something for that one. For the rest of this is just walking to the goal, not much interesting to see. But what we at least can show is this guy over here, and me completely messing up this action. I didn't know that the arrow isn't where you're throwing, but it is a general angle, and after that you have the throwing angle. So I of course aimed the arrow, not the line that comes afterwards, and messed up the first action. But there's really nothing you can do about that, and this fight isn't all that long if you finally get it. So I only wasted one turn and we are already done with it. Meaning we are now finally going over to what comes after. Being me running frantically around this place to find where Jevil is. I will now do Jevil instead of going over to the king. And well, for Jevil I know that there is somewhere an elevator that has some question mark the location you can go to. I had no idea that this elevator was meant. That also is where we're coming from, where we were in the prison. How should you know that this has some other location you can go to? Outside of that is off Jevil, there are only 3 locations you need to go to. One is a cat, that is simply go to a location and be done with it. The other is an invisible path. When you know where the path is it not all that interesting to go there. The last one is this one, which shouldn't be difficult at all, especially as how you can see when the screen is going to the left am I looking what I'm supposed to do. I just couldn't wrap my head around how to do this properly, so this took really long, and I just for you cut out all the extra time it took. But do believe me, it took way more than it should. All just because I couldn't wrap my head around how the tiles are put in, and always think they are shuffling from the left, moving everything to the right instead of being thrown in from the right and moving to the furthest left spot that is still available. Due to fancy cutting technique, will Jevil look like a first try. This fight took me longer than it should. I did this fight after all 4 chapters, so you would expect that I'm finally good at the game. I even was able to finally equip some items and use them for this fight. but I didn't do well at all in my first time playing it. I had to replay this fight and I got it immediately without any struggle, but the first time I struggled so much to doing this. I also don't know if attacking is faster or doing the other action. The other action I of course didn't know what it really was, so attacking for now is probably faster. With the attacks he does, there are only a few that are really relevant for me. The biggest one being that, for example, with this carousel attack, I just struggle to know where the hitbox is. I'm pretty sure it is smaller than what is visually there. Once I simply stopped respecting it, could I easily dodge it without getting hit at all. Then is there the other attack where he does those sizes that he throws in and the circle around. I really struggled to dodge that one. The movement of it just didn't make sense to me. Even if I could visualize where they go, could I not visualize how I have to move to avoid them. Because of the struggles I have, do I need a lot of healing. And healing I do due to the natural healing you get when characters are down. I don't have the items to revive. I wouldn't even know that there are revive items anywhere to get. So I simply have to wait it out and make this fight even slower than it already is. Finally, the attack you saw me suck the most in during this is where the spades circle you. I simply couldn't find out how you're supposed to move that you are fast enough to circle around, or if you're even supposed to circle, or instead are going on the outside and then squeeze through two spades to then keep up that way. Anyways, that attack really sucks, and even after I got way better, did I still not figure out how to do it properly. On the other hand, once Jevil went into his second phase, did things change a little bit, because things are faster and more difficult. Am I for some reason better dodging them? As example is when he does that size attack now, where also a big size comes that stops you camping at one side. For some reason is it way easier for me to dodge it when I have to go all the way through. Who knew that being forced to be less campy makes you better at dodging? The carousel attack also has now way more open gaps, so it becomes far easier to go along with it once you realize that the two different things are moving in different directions. It shouldn't have been a boss that took me as long as it did, but after all did I also just throw myself at him without any preparation. I probably don't even wear the best gear, as I still cannot read and simply chose whatever looked the best from the inventory and not what is actually the best, as I didn't look that up. I did hear that using healing spells in this fight is not a good idea. Well, I used them and I didn't struggle. Of course it makes the fight longer if you can't use Root Buster. Oh, and hey, I'm using TP. That will surely carry over when we go over to the King, where once again not know where to use TP. I don't even know how I got Root Buster. I simply have it suddenly. The biggest time loss of it all was most likely me reading the inventory and taking way too long with that one. While I can't properly read it, can I attempt to read it, and that is very slow. I also didn't just choose to remember where the things are, and so I'm always reading it but take ages to decipher what is standing there, and then take far too long to actually do the action I need to do. With that cut out, would probably all the time be halved I took for this, when you take together all the times I did this fight, which I currently don't know how many were. But well, we are now done with the fight. This is the final attack. I do not know what in this attack actually hurts you. Do the beams that go up hurt you or not? Who knows? I can see my HP during the attack, and I barely survived it. As a funky final note, the clowns start speaking Japanese! As it seems that they also translate what he is saying in this fight. So he is actually saying Japanese things. I didn't even realize that that was out of the ordinary because it sounded so fitting to what was going on. I mean, nannemo dekiru just sounds like something he would really say, but in English he is apparently saying something else, even if I don't know what that is. I can do anything, or anything is possible, just doesn't sound the same way as nannemo dekiru. Luckily was it short to the end, and the attacks that now come aren't all that hard to dodge, so I simply have to wait it out. And remember when I said I'm good at dodging these final few attacks? Screw that one. It was me barely surviving for the last attack I have to do and finish this off, getting an item I'm not even using until I redo this fight, as I didn't do it during chapter 1 but after chapter 4. Following Jevil will follow what is the actual final boss of this chapter, even if he is the way weaker compared to Jevil, a fight I did without any problems on first try, fighting against the king. Remember once again how I said I don't again know how to use TP? Have fun with this fight when I never do anything but attacking. I also don't use healing magic and barely use the items I have if I need them. This is good that it is such an easy fight, that you simply can survive it like that if you are good. This also was the first time I played Deltarune still, unlike Jevil where I sucked with no explanation. So here I'm comparatively doing way better, and I'm even sometimes good at grazing, if just I could use it for something. I will say that this fight feels really like a fan game boss. He does so many funky things with your battle box, like moving it around, well mostly moving it around, but that is what Undertale fan games love to do, and this one does it as well, and with most attacks that is. Still do I like the idea of wandering around and the box forces you to be somewhere or get hurt. I am someone who usually likes it simpler, so it is quite lucky that this doesn't bother me. If it would go too far, I wouldn't like it. But this is the exact amount I need to be okay with it, and then actually have fun doing it. As a matter of fact, even if I think chapter 1 is by far the worst chapter of them all, not even counting the decrepit way I did it, but just in general how chapter 1 is. The story is simply there, the characters just exist to exist. The movement through the world is mostly just introducing things. If I had played Deltarune right when this came out, I probably wouldn't have given it a second shot, because this isn't as good as for me to bother with it anymore, but because of I am doing this when the actual good chapters are there, am I quite enjoying this, even if this is just chapter 1. In fact, I enjoyed it quite a lot doing what I'm doing right here and trying to speed through it even if I have to figure out things on the fly. That is a fun skill to use, that you rarely ever use, especially with such story-driven games, where you don't want your story to be ruined by not reading anything. I mean, there would be the way of counting it by not counting in reading stuff and just counting all the movement. That would be the fair way for speedrunning it for the first time. As I already knew what was happening, and that wasn't even all that interesting to begin with, are we just speedrunning it in general. And now so reach the end like that, with a semi-decent time. Of the 8.062 billion people on planet Earth, only 931 are better than me. So I see that as an absolute success for doing it for the first time and getting that runtime. Most of it being wasted with running around in places I don't even know where to go. But that's playing for the first time. There are even people on speedrun.org with worse times than me, so how bad can it truly be what I got out of this? As we did the genocide version of this, is the final act also faster, as I am very certain when you do spare everyone, do you have to go through the world and talk to them, or at least there is some extra cutscene before Ralsa reveals herself here, himself, whatever. In some way could you therefore say that killing things was the right choice, when I'm not good enough to avoid them. Following which, we just see some more cutscenes I have to speed through to finally get to the actual end of the chapter, and then start off with chapter 2. I will simply save you all the time of walking through the overworld, as that is not something we are really interested in. Instead, let's go over to the end of this. The only last time loss I have is not knowing where home is, so I first go in the wrong direction. Even the beginning cutscene does not help me to know where I'm supposed to go to if I didn't go it myself. At least in home, is it not that difficult to actually find the right way, as there aren't many options to do. I still find some ways to do it wrong, but well. In the weird way I time things, from chapter select screen to chapter select screen, did it then take me 57 minutes 6 seconds to beat chapter 1. Jevil is a bit more weird, as I beat him in, when considering that I did him after all 4 chapters. But this timer only took for the Jevil segment. When I reloaded the save file from chapter 1, it took me 42 minutes and 24 seconds in addition.